Welcome to another episode of the Peak Potential Success Show. My name is Fong. I'm an entrepreneur, business strategist, real estate investor, speaker, and also a best-selling author. Every single day, I have the opportunity to help others unlock their potentials and guide them to succeed. Today, I have an amazing guest. This is somebody I met a few years ago at a conference, and once he walked up on stage, you knew, one, he's a man of style, two, he's full of energy, and three, he's able to connect, motivate, and inspire his audience. He is a prolific business and leadership trainer. He has written over 33 books. 33 books. I mean, lots of people go, I need to write one. This guy's written 33 and more. He has spoken on over 60 different countries, and he helps leaders, teams grow and succeed in today's challenging times. So please welcome Mr. Bob, the idea man, Hooey.
Thank you, Fong. Thank you for that introduction. That's better than I wrote it. So,
well, thank you very much for being here and spending the time with us.
Oh, the pleasure's mine.
Now,
I'm always glad to share a few ideas with people, and I like the opportunity of connecting like we're connecting here, because I know that through your network, some of these ideas will reach out to other people, and that helps me with my mission in life, which is to bring hope and help to people around the world.
And those are very, very important messages, and messages that people do need to hear about and also learn from, so that they can make this world a much better place.
Absolutely.
Now, for people who don't really know who you are and what you do, just tell us a little bit about yourself.
Okay. Well, I'm an author many times, as you've mentioned. I'm also a global speaker. Well, up until 5 months ago, I was a global speaker. I tend to work with associations and corporations. I work with committed leaders and their teams who want to grow and succeed. So I bring a lot of different tools to that table in terms of working with them individually, working with their executives, working with their front line, teaching them success skills that make them more effective in working with their clients, working together, and tapping into creativity to solve the problems that they face.
Awesome. Now, you work with people all over the world and you speak all over the world. What is how do you prepare to be able to connect with so many different types of people, so many different types of audiences?
Well, I think the biggest thing, whether you're traveling the world or speaking close to home, is do your homework. You know, who's going to be in the audience? And I tend to talk to the people that have hired me or bringing me in, and I ask them lots of questions about the audience, who's going to be there, who's going to be a typical member. Normally what I try and do is I ask them, can I have the contact information for, say, 5 people that are representative of the people that will be in the audience? And then I connect with them, especially now that we can do Zoom calls. I can have a conversation with them like you and I are having and say, okay, tell me what's happening in your part of the world. What are the challenges that you're facing right now? What, if you're working in a business, what are the challenges that your business is up against? What are you working on? What have you succeeded in doing? What are you really proud of that you've done in the last year? You know, those kinds of things, so that I walk in with stories and examples, and then I go do my homework before I show up, so that I bring in something that's relevant to them. Because I think the biggest mistake that speakers make from North America is they think that what we do works around the world. And we think our stories are relatable around the world. And in some cases they are. You know, I think the lessons behind our stories work, but sometimes the stories don't make sense. I give you one example. A number of years ago, actually, I think it was 2008, I had the opportunity to work in Iran for a week. And in most cases, it was me speaking English and somebody translating to Farsi, simultaneous translation, which is good to the most part, except when you're trying to share something that would be considered funny. And so I was doing a leadership summit, and I shared a story that in North America, at the very least, got a giggle. You know, sometimes it was like rolling in the floor laughter. So I told the story, dead silence, nothing. So I just kept speaking. That's the secret. If people don't laugh, just keep talking. But I talked to the translator afterwards, and I explained it to him, and he said, "Oh, that's funny." He said, "I didn't get it when you were saying it." So I explained it to him, and he said, "That's funny." So at the end of the week, we had a chance to fly to Quiche, and they have an international university there. And two of the three speakers, myself and one of the other speakers and the translator, went, and we had all the students for the whole day. And so I told that same story, and the students were rolling in the aisles because the translator was funny, because he got the joke.
Yeah.
And I think the challenge, we think, is what we share here is going to translate. I mean, I'll give you another example. This is the same thing in humor. Humor isn't funny everywhere. Humor, I write about that in Speaking for Success. Humor doesn't travel well. So if you're trying to say something, like, for example, what we think is funny in Edmonton may not be funny in Calgary.
Right.
And as speakers and as leaders, I think we need to do our homework so that we enhance the opportunity to seriously connect with the audience. And I know you're doing that because you're moving into that platform, and I've seen you speak, and you speak very well, my friend. So
thank you very much for that. Now, you mentioned a few times where you can't plan for everything. Things sometimes just happen when you're talking on so many different stages or working with so many different leaders and teams. You have to be able to think fast on your feet. Sometimes you have to act impromptu.
Yep.
What are some ways that you prepare your mind or prepare your skill set so that you can act on the fly and act accordingly as well?
Well, and again, I think some of that goes to knowing yourself and understanding what you've gone through. And as I tell myself sometimes when I'm going through a crisis, that I have 100% track record of successfully going through crises up to today. So I remember that I got through all this other stuff that I didn't know what to do, and I didn't think I could get through. But the other part is just building a mindset that says, okay, there's a solution here. I can find it because I'm creative. And the other part is just because you have experience, you deal with it. I'll give you another example. I was speaking in Paris last year. In May, I spoke for the European Speakers Summit. They had speakers from all over Europe that came in, and the Paris, or the French Speakers Association, hosted it. And the second time I spoke in Paris for them. And I was doing a presentation that I had designed just for them, like literally just for them. It wasn't something I normally do for a client. It was something I created just for that event. And so I got to the point, I did my monologue and my intro when I'm getting there, and I go to hit the clicker to move the slide, to move into the meat of the presentation, and the clicker was dead. Nothing was happening. So normally you would freak out. So I just turned to the lady who was the MC, and I said, Katja, can you be my clicker? And so I literally, for the rest of my presentation, I'd go next slide and carry on. And when I saw the video of it, because I buy the video to see what I do, it actually was not as much of a distraction as I thought it was.
So
you just need to be creative and go with it. I think the biggest thing, again, as a speaker, is the audience doesn't know what's happening behind the scenes.
Right.
So if you don't make a big issue about it, they don't know. Like, for example, if you make a mistake or you forget something, here's a tip. For example, if you forget something, sometimes you've got two things I do. I no longer say, I'm going to share 5 things with you. Because maybe I only have time to do 4, or maybe I forget one. I usually say something like, here's a number of things I'd like to share with you. Or if you forget something, you can go back and you can say, and I've done this, I was just thinking about something I said earlier, and I have another thought, which is actually number 5, and you put that in, which is a nice casual way of sharing the information, giving the value that you want to give without making it look like, my God, I screwed up. I missed something. Oh, and I see people do that as speakers and as leaders. They make a mistake and they get so in their heads about it that it becomes the focus, and everybody loses track of what's important.
Another one of my pet peeves is that when speakers go up on stage and they say something like, Hi everybody, I'm very, very nervous. This is my very first time, so just bear with me, we'll get through this. I'm like, don't tell me that. Now I'm going to be sitting there watching for every little mistake.
Well, especially those of us that are Toastmasters, we're already evaluating them anyway. So, but actually, that's the interesting thing. There's a lot of people in our industry that are scared to death of Toastmasters. Because Toastmasters come up to somebody who's making $5,000 or $10,000 for a speech and say, "Can I give you some feedback?" And they're very polite and they take it. And part of them is going, when you get good enough to make this kind of money, then you can talk. But the other thing is just, if we make a mistake, we make a mistake. and
Exactly.
we move ahead. But never, I tell people in one of the books, I can't remember where, never build a case against yourself,
Right.
because you might get lucky and get through it, even though you're not prepared, you haven't done your homework, and it works.
Right.
So don't tell people. If
Yeah.
you're lucky, good. But next time, do your homework. I
Yep.
tell people I don't get nervous anymore unless I haven't done my homework.
Exactly. Preparation is king, right? Like,
That's absolutely it.
I had one scenario when I was asked to go speak at this mastermind group on effective communication, how to prepare yourself to speak in public. And I had all these slides and I had all this PowerPoint ready. I was ready to do my thing. I walked into the room like, where's the projector? Where's the screen? He goes, oh, we don't have one. I'm like, great. Going off. And I didn't mention the fact that there was PowerPoint or any slides prepared. I just kept on going and nobody knew the difference. So it's
Well, and that's the reality in being creative people. You need to be ready for whatever is happening.
exactly.
And you also need to be adaptable. I remember flying into, I think it was Chicago, but I can't remember. I was doing an afternoon program and then an evening keynote. And I walked in and I was getting set up and somebody said, oh, it was watching, looking at my PowerPoint. I said, oh, that's nice. That's for tonight, right? And I went, no, that's for this afternoon. And they had advertised it the other way around. So I had about half an hour to take the afternoon one and shorten it to an hour and 15 minutes and take the other one and raise it to 2.5 hours.
Wow.
And that's what you do. You adapt. You don't make a big deal about it. You just do it. You don't go and complain to the organizer and go, oh, you promised that I'd do this and stuff. You deal with it. That you're a professional. Your job is to deliver value every time you step on stage.
Right.
Just like as a leader, your job is to bring the best out of your team that you can every day. You want to invest in them. You want to challenge them. You want to coach them. You want to kick their butts sometimes. And I say that because I think we all need it. I know there's times when I've needed my butt kicked. When I was going for the accredited speaker, which you're aware of, that's the professional level Toastmaster designation that is earned. You actually have to get it in a 2-stage judging process. There's 87 of us in the history of Toastmasters that have gotten it. There were 7 of us that got together every month for about 13 months, and we would kick each other's butt so that we became better speakers. And I'll give you an example. Judy Johnson, who was one of the 3 ladies that I worked with on this, I did a small little presentation, and we would do it each month, and then we'd dissect it. And she said, Bob, that was an interesting presentation. Here's an idea that would make it better. Could you move the beginning closer to the end? Which is a nice way of saying the stuff in the middle sucked big time, Hooey. And our commitment to each other was no fluff. No fluff. We knew we loved each other, so we were going to be absolutely brutally honest. If it was great, we'd say it was great. If it was blech, we'd say that. And 2 of the 3 of us went on to become accredited speakers.
Oh, congratulations on that. I know it's a long time coming, but congratulations anyways.
Thank you.
Now, you alluded to having people around you able to kind of kick your butt, having people kind of that support group, that mastermind group kind of scenario. Now, how important is like coaching? Like, for instance, you still have your coaches, your mentors, your support, and you guys bounce ideas off of each other. Why is coaching so important, and why does everybody need a coach?
Well, in just to be absolutely honest, you don't see the mistakes that you have. You also don't see the strengths that you have, and those are 2 things that coaches observe. They see what you're doing well, to be able to say, you're doing a good job in this area, keep doing it, exaggerate it, push it. And they're also seeing areas where, look, this isn't working for you. Let's change it. Let's change it up. Let's adapt it. Let's tweak it. Sometimes all you need is little things. And I've had people who are, I would consider coaches in my life, who have had major impact by making subtle differences. In other words, they would see something in what I did and say, if you changed this, it would be that much stronger.
Right.
I'll give you an example. The way back when I used to get involved in the Toastmaster speaking speaking contest. I got into the humorous speech contest here in Alberta. And amazingly enough, I made it to the district, which has blew me away because I wasn't trying to be funny. I just started at my club level, and they needed a second competitor. So I sat down in 5 minutes and pulled 3 stories out of some of my speeches and put them together. And so I kept using that same thing. And somebody made a suggestion on the title, because as you know, in Toastmasters, they go, here's the title, person's name, here's the title. So I changed it. I used the original title used to be I'm Not Funny. I think we changed it to You're Not Funny. So all of a sudden, so she's going, you're not funny, Bob Hooey, you're not funny. So I walked on shrugging my shoulders going, I've been trying to tell you that for 3 months. And that brought the house down. I totally relaxed. I had fun. I came in third, which was better than I should have done, because it really wasn't a speech. It was just some stories I put together. But I learned how to deliver something from the beginning that was funny. And we just made that one little twist. And that's all it was. That was the one twist. They made it that much funnier.
Wow, very, very, very effective. And it really gets everybody loosened up and engaged into your talk right away.
You want people to laugh.
Exactly.
I do that with my introductions. I try and include something that's funny in the introduction, so that if the audience, if I hear a little bit of a laugh, I go, okay, we're going to have fun. If it's dead silence, I go, got work to do.
Now, when it comes to entrepreneurship, business, branding is very, very important. And one thing that I noticed right away about you is your brand is you're a man of style, obviously with your scarf, and 2, you're the idea man.
Yes.
So can you talk to us a little bit more about dressing for success, and why is that so important?
Well, I think, again, you and I talked about this before that we started. I believe that you dress for the audience that you are presenting. And I think you dress to respect them, to respect the fact that they've taken the time and the energy to be there. So you dress to respect them. So as well as a professional, I think you show up ready to work. If I was a plumber or an electrician, I would show up with my tools. I'm a professional speaker, author, and trainer, so I show up ready to do my job so that what I'm wearing isn't going to distract from my message. Now, it's interesting you mentioned the scarves. The scarves have become a thing to the point where I was speaking in Scotland a few years ago, and our CAP's national president at that time was Steve Lowell. He's going to be the International Federation president next year. He was also speaking. The first thing, he came up to me and he grabbed my scarf and said, yeah, so see the scarf, not disappointed. It was like if I showed up without the scarf, it's like, you're not Bob Hooey without the scarf. And I tell people it's an accidental style. Because here in Canada, I'm not sure who's going to see this, but here in Canada, we have this thing called winter. And it's freaking cold. And so lots of times in the winter, you bundle up with a scarf and a jacket or an overcoat or whatever. And so I was going off to present somewhere, and I took off my overcoat. And for some reason, I forgot to take off my scarf. And I'm halfway through my presentation, and somebody said, hey, I kind of like that scarf idea. What a great style. And I went, oh, okay. And so I've gotten to the point where I like it because I can get away with wearing a scarf and a tie, or lots of times a scarf without the tie. So then I'm more comfortable, and yet I still look like I'm dressed.
Right. And when people brought that up, yeah, of course, I put the scarf on purpose.
Exactly. Well, now it's something I do. As I travel the world, I buy scarves in different places. There's one, they're easy to take home, and 2, each of them reminds me of a place that I've been.
And like, again, engaging with that audience and relating to them, just simply wearing your colors.
It's nice to bring a story home with you. It's like when we were in Scotland speaking a few years ago, we went to Balmoral, and there was a little place there that was selling scarves. And they actually have an authentic maple leaf tartan.
Oh.
An authentic maple leaf tartan, approved by the British Crown and whatever. So I bought that. I was actually going to wear it this morning, but it doesn't really work with the shirt. But and it would be really warm because it's still warm out. But again, that's a story. That's a connection to that time and that place. And when I need to, I can bring that out,
Mhm.
which makes what I say hopefully more relevant to the people I'm speaking to.
Mhm. And then, so, and also that part two of that question was, how did the name Idea Man come about?
Okay, that came from a customer.
Uh,
It sounds funny because I didn't always call myself the idea man. I have a company called Ideas at Work, and that was the company from day one. Although we did change it. Originally, it was going to be Ideas That Work,
Mhm.
and we changed it to Ideas at Work because I speak, I give people ideas. I want to see them do something with the ideas. But I was working with a client, and he just looked at me and he said, "You're a real idea man, aren't you?" And I thought about it, and I thought, "Yeah, I guess I am." And so now when people say, "Why do they call you the idea man?" I say, "Stick around, let's have a conversation, you'll get it." Because inevitably when I'm talking to somebody, they'll say something or I'll think of something that would be beneficial to them that will help them. And I'll give you an example. There's a book in the background there called Think Beyond the First Sale. My friend Bill Comrie, who built a little company called The Brick here in Canada, wrote the foreword for that. And in the foreword, there was a couple of things that he talked about. One, I helped the company go over the $1 billion sales mark. But the other one was an idea that I gave him when we were just working on an event. He was being brought in to speak for the Alberta house builders or home builders. And I said, "Bill, you're leaving money on the table. These guys build homes, and homes need furniture, which is what you sell." So we actually dialogued and came up with an idea where he would offer them free furniture for a year for a show home, as long as they put brochures and signage in, courtesy of the Brick and whatever. So he had all these little mini showrooms all over Alberta. Now, he, being the business person that he is, tracked the results of that. According to him in the book, he said that made him $12 million. That was just an idea that happened because we were just talking.
Wow.
And I'll tell you another story with entrepreneurship. I remember the first time I ever heard the word entrepreneur. When I was going through school, I was at NAIT. We had an open house, and I thought, I had this idea. I thought people are going to be going through. Thousands of people are going to be going through. They're going to get hungry. So I made a deal with somebody to use one of the classrooms and turn it into a pizza place.
Wow.
So there was a place called Giuseppe's Pizza, I think it was called. And they had a place on 9th Avenue. So I went down, and they were just going into making pizzas that you could buy. So I got a small oven from them. I got a Coke machine, and we got the thing set up. And so I bought a few, and then I came back and bought more and more. And this guy looked at me because I was selling tons of pizzas over these 3 days. And he said, "You're a real entrepreneur." And I thought, is he calling me down or what? I didn't know what the word meant. I understood afterwards that I was, that paid my tuition and my expenses for the year, that 3 days.
Wow.
I borrowed the money from one of my instructors to do it, paid him back, and put several $1,000s in my pocket. And then I went on to start doing that once a month. I would do a coffee house, and we would do things. We brought in people like the Poppy family and just different people to do stuff. And that's how I paid for my college.
Oh, very. Idea Man was up and going very, very young.
No, I wish I'd known I was the idea man then. I could have built it even longer.
You started that brand a long, long time ago. So
Yeah, for sure.
there's lots of people out there who go, you know what? I don't feel like doing this. I can't feel motivated. How do you do it? What gets you to wake up in the morning and go, you know what? I'm going to crush today.
Well, I think what gets me going is having a project to work on. I am the kind of person who needs something in the hopper to work on. And I'm at my worst when I've got nothing planned. I mean, not that I don't allow myself time to play and enjoy. I love traveling and speaking and taking time around the speaking to go do something. My wife comes with me if we go someplace interesting, and we play tourist. Like, for example, the one time I was mentioning when we spoke in Paris, we rented a car and spent two weeks traveling Europe. So I'm not afraid to enjoy myself, but I'd love to have something productive to work on. Like, for example, right now, in the midst of not being able to travel, I'm spending time updating my books. One of the ones I just finished updating that my wife, who's the editor, is working on, is called Get to Yes. It's a small little 62-page book that we'll be putting out next week. new cover, updating the information, that kind of stuff. So it gets me going, gets my juices going, keeps me creative, and doing things like this. This gets me going, knowing that I needed to get up today and I was going to have some fun with you, talking about ideas. That got me excited.
Awesome.
That's a good thing.
Now, you mentioned that you were updating some of your books and you've written over 33 books. Is there such thing as writer's block?
Yes. Yes, there is. And there's a way to get,
how do you overcome that then?
and there's a way to get over it, which is to sit down in front of your computer, or in the old days when I had a typewriter, and just type. In other words, you sit down and say, I'm going to write. It may be garbage, it may be nothing, but I'm going to write. Because once I find, for me, once I start, the first little bit may be crappy, but eventually it's kind of like the old style where you have a pump that goes to a well.
Mm-hmm.
You remember one of these things? When you first start, you're pumping like crazy, nothing's happening, and then eventually you start hearing this gurgle, and then all of a sudden you get a few spurts, and then pretty soon you get a real flow of water coming. It's the same thing with ideas. It's the same thing with writing. Once you start, it's a discipline. Mm-hmm. And I find, like, for me, if I'm working on a project, I will be up and I'll be in the office here writing at 7 a.m, and I'll write for 4 or 5 hours, and then I'll take the rest of the day and do something else. Because one of the things that I believe in, that I teach in my time management program, is manage the mornings. If you manage the mornings, you get the most important thing done. And for me, if it's a writing project, then I spend time on the writing or the editing, as the case may be. But the biggest thing is just to do it.
Yep.
It's like face your fear and do it. I have nothing to write about. Well, then write about nothing. Sit there and say, I have nothing to say. I have nothing to say. Oh, I got an idea now. Oh, I got and then you do it. That's how it works. It's kind of like being a speaker. I'm scared to death to speak. Okay, you overcome it by doing it. That you learned in Toastmasters. So did I. Yeah, you get up, you speak, you stumble, and you get a few words out, and they applaud and they go, "Way to go, yeah!" And then next time you do half a dozen words, and pretty soon they can't shut you up.
Exactly, and that's what's surprising about that kind of stuff. Once you start doing it, all of a sudden you're doing it over and over and over again. Like for myself, I did the first book, and all of a sudden, like, hey, wait, I have another idea and another idea. I have up to 8 to 20 books right now, so it's kind of one of those things that it's all in the hopper. I got 5 out already, got 2 more in the works right now. So
and that's exactly the thing. As you get ideas, one thing I used to have file folders, and I'd put ideas in there. Now I do it on my computer, where I create a folder. I tell people when I do writing courses or something, write a folder called My Book.
Yeah.
And if you get an idea, you just type it, stick it in there, and stick it in. Eventually you get enough information, you can start editing and putting it together, and it becomes something that could be a small short book. Mm-hmm. It could be as short as 8 or 10 pages as an ebook. It could become a full-fledged book, whatever it happens to be. But start by collecting. I've been quoted as saying, writing is easy. Capture the ideas, make the connections. The rest is editing.
Mm-hmm. Right.
But you still have to start, and that's why I love people like yourself that are doing things, because there's so many people that go, oh, I want to do it, I want to do it, I want to do it, and then they come and see you. You see them 6 months later, a year later. Yeah, I want to do it, I want to do it, I want to. And after a while, I almost feel like saying, go away. You're lying to yourself, and you're wasting my time. If I'll work with anybody who really wants to do something, and that's one of the things that brings me joy and keeps me going and flowing, is working with people that want to grow and get somewhere. That's what I'm working with teams or business people or speakers who want to get to be better. I love that. Yeah. I love investing in people, but I love it when they do something with it.
Yeah, exactly.
And what drives me nuts when you give them an idea and they just go, yeah, whatever.
But there's also those people that go, wow, I can't believe I didn't think about that, or thank you for changing my life. And those type of comments and those type of people just really melt your heart when you hear that from them.
And you can live a month on one of those when somebody connects and you've done something. You can see that they got it when the light bulb went out for them. Yeah. It's not you. You're the catalyst that maybe connected that, but they got it, and then they went and did it. I love that. That's if nothing else, when I look back at the end of my life, I want to be able to say, there were a number of people that I made a difference for.
Mm-hmm.
and that's good enough.
Exactly. No, that's very inspiring. Now, there's lots of people who go, I wrote my first book, it's my baby, I cherish it, it's my favorite author. You have 33 kids. So,
and more in the process.
exactly. So you're busy. So pick your favorite. Who's your favorite child and why?
Well, one of the ones that I really enjoy is the one I wrote on creativity called "Why Didn't I Think of That?" And the title for that one actually came from when I used to be in the kitchen business, and I used to make women happy for a living. And I say that because, and people laugh when I say that. I used to put that in my presentations because I do a lot of things, and a woman getting a new kitchen would make her happy. So, and I'd say, and their husbands would pay me for it. So, but that title came when I would design a kitchen and I'd be presenting it to the clients, and they go, "Wow, why didn't we think of that?" Mm-hmm. And I would just gently say to them, well, because one, I'm the one with the creative process. I'm the guy with the training. And two, you're paying me as a professional to create this masterpiece for you. That's why you didn't think of it. But the biggest thing is I love to create things. Mm-hmm. And one of the other ones is obviously the one behind me because it's the one that has the most evolution. Speaking for Success, that's actually the 9th edition behind me here.
Wow.
And I updated it this year in February, just before COVID, because I was going to take it with me to Barcelona. We were doing a 3-day event in Barcelona. I had 16 speakers coming from around the world, and we were doing Destiny 21 in Barcelona. Mm-hmm. And so I made a point of including each of them in the book with a pro tip from them. So each of them had a tip in the book, so we were going to make that available. I'm probably going to update it again, but I'm actually working on a supplement to it because I was going to update it because of COVID. And my wife has a pretty good idea. She's also an author in the family. She does all the editing and formatting. In fact, the other book you can see in the back there is called Mom, How Do I? That's her book, her cookbook she just did last month, which is already starting to sell like crazy. But she said, why don't you do a separate book on the COVID stuff? So I've got a title for it. I'm calling it Pivot to Present. Because that's what we ended up having to do. As soon as COVID hit, we couldn't travel. We couldn't go anywhere. We couldn't do anything. And I'll have to admit, I actually was depressed for about a week because all of a sudden I wasn't going to Barcelona. I wasn't going to Lisbon. I wasn't going to Singapore. I wasn't going to Paris. I wasn't going to England. And I probably wasn't going to Germany. As it turned out, I'm not going to Germany next month because they've canceled as well. And so here I was stuck at home with no place to go. And it floored me because I thought, what am I going to do? Where am I going to go? And until I rethought what I do, and I thought, okay, at this time in my life, I can't travel, but my message still can through this platform. Right. Wow. And so we redirected, I went back to the speakers, for example, for Barcelona and said, let's do a speakers roundtable. So we put together a 2.5-hour program with all of us taking, instead of half an hour, we each gave 5 minutes and created a really tight program to help PSA Spain, which went over really well. All the other ones that were canceled are going virtual, including the Toastmaster one, which will be virtual in a couple of weeks. Yeah. And so that's the reality we're facing is we can't physically do it face to face, but we can still connect. We can still share. We can still get our message out through this medium. Mm. So that's the idea of the book, is to say, okay, how do you do that? How do you make your little rectangle a good rectangle?
Right. Well, that's very, very cool. Got another question, which is, you're on the world stage. You have an opportunity to share one message to the entire world. What message would that be?
Very simply, if you have an idea, if you have a dream, if you have something you really want to do, then work on it and make it happen. Because the world needs what you bring to the table.
Very, very, very powerful. Very good. So for people who would love to get in touch with you or get a copy of one of your many, many books or the whole set of your books, what's the best way of finding you and connecting with you?
The best way would be to check out my speaking site, which is www.ideaman.net. Or if they're looking for the books, they can go to successpublications.ca.
Awesome. Okay,
And
great.
all the books are all available on Amazon as well. But if you order one through me, I'll autograph it for you and send it.
Awesome. Great. Thank you for that. Now, before I let you go, I have a quick few questions for you to answer right on the fly. First thing that comes to mind. All right. So the very first question is, if you really had to choose to go speak on stage and you can only pick 1, your suit, 2, your scarf, or 3, your hat, which one would you pick?
My scarf.
So bare-chested, just the scarf.
Well, yeah, what can I say?
Awesome. If you had an opportunity to learn from anybody in the world, dead or alive, who would that be?
I would like to spend some time with Napoleon Hill.
Cool.
Or spend some more time with a few people that I've met over the years, like Norman Vincent Peale. I actually hired him once. I'd like to spend some more time with him. He's passed away a long time now.
So now you have Norman and you also have Napoleon at your kitchen table, and you're serving them your most pristine, most favorite dish and your expertise. What dish would that be? What are you preparing for them?
I'd probably do steak and potatoes and fresh corn.
Awesome.
That's one of the things that we like here in Alberta. We got really good beef. Right now you can get Tabor corn, which is just so sweet and so nice. You do it on the barbecue and baked potatoes. It just makes a simple meal, but it's amazing.
Great. Well, I'm gonna have to try that out sometime.
And then have my wife cook one of her desserts.
And then, okay, I'm assuming you're familiar with Amazing Race, yes?
Yeah.
Okay, so you get that packet, you open up that envelope and it says you're going to this place and you can be doing this activity. What place and what activity would you be hoping for?
Well, I'd be hoping it'd be someplace I haven't been, like maybe Thailand, and doing something fun rather than trying to eat snakes or bugs or whatever. And definitely not doing one of the athletic ones where I'm having to climb a building or do some of that stuff. It'd be hopefully something that was a mental challenge, where you had to put something together or create something that people could buy.
So not bungee jumping or skydiving.
No, I've done bungee jumping. Once was more than enough.
I see. And then finally, the question, what is success like? But before you answer that question, you need to pick a number between 1 to 4.
3.
1, 2, 3. So how is success like a bikini string or string bikini?
Well, it doesn't hide much. It reveals pretty much everything you don't want revealed. So, you have to be careful what you're showing to the world, but make sure you're in shape to deliver it well.
Wow.
And success is also something that can be really attractive in the right setting.
Wow. Very, very, very quick. Obviously, you're the king on impromptu speaking, so that was very well done and very, very quick.
Well, thank you. Thank all those years of Toastmasters.
So you guys all heard it here. Success is like a string bikini because you're exposed and you always have to be prepared to show off what you're good at. So thank you very much for that. Again, thank you for your time. Your stories have been amazing. You shared a lot of great tips. Lots of speakers should actually listen to this to get all those little nuggets that you actually shared and apply to themselves. So thank you very much for that.
The privilege was mine, Fong. And thank you for what you're doing. Keep doing what you're doing, my friend.
Well,
the world needs more Fong.
Awesome, thanks. And so he is Bob Hooey. My name is Fong Chua. Until next time, today is the day to unlock your peak potential. We'll see you later.